Well, good morning. Welcome to Turnout Radio on CIUT 89.5 FM. I'm Nicole Inica Hamilton, back to open up with you about the latest on the dance scene and the heart of what moves us. Thank you for tuning in to share time and rhythm with us. Welcome to this dance space. Well, as we groove into the rhythm of today's show, as always, we are inviting you to come in as we explore the stories that live both on and beyond the stage. And today, we are igniting the space with a conversation that's going to delve into discussion about uniting competitive dance stakeholders under two shared standards: safety and fairness. Coming up on the show, Jamie Hodgins, Jerome Bobb, and Nathaniel Chua are in the house and will be with me to share thoughts about the above and the launch of the International Competitive Dance Registry. We're going to get into some real talk today, folks. So stay tuned and stay locked in right here to CIUT 89.5 FM. We're going to take a break and be right back with more of Turnout Radio right after this. Welcome back to Turnout Radio. I'm Nicole Inica Hamilton. So today we are going in to talk about the competitive dance sector, and in particular, thoughts, questions, and concerns about safety, privacy, liability, and verification. So let me give you the highlights. The International Competitive Dance Registry, or ICDR, is preparing to launch the first industry-wide verification platform built to unite competitive dance stakeholders under two shared standards: safety and fairness. Now, according to ICDR, this is a collective, creative, and overdue approach to privacy protection, competition fairness, verified records of achievement, modernizing our industry to the standard expected in sport. An initiative deemed as being needed to support and hold space for the safety of dance artists in competitive spaces. Today, I'm going to be sitting down with Jamie Hodgins, who many of you will know as a Turnout Radio guest host. Jamie is the ICDR Executive Director, an event producer, and teacher. And joining Jamie is Nathaniel Chua, who as well many of you will know as a guest host of Turnout Radio. Nathaniel is a Dance Awards title winner and a current Pace University student. Joining us in the house today is Jerome Bobb, Fever Dance Championships and CDX Director and ICDR Competition Advisor. Join me in welcoming all three to the show.
Hi, Nicole. Thanks for having us.
Great to be here.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. My day has been made. It's so great to be here with all of you. And let me start with Jamie. Jamie, how are you doing as you come into the space today?
I'm excellent. It's nice to be on Turnout Radio again, to be honest. It's been a while.
It has, and it's always a pleasure, Jamie, to be in the space with you. I was so pleased that we had an opportunity to connect regarding ICDR, and so I'm looking forward to being in conversation with the three of you today.
Well, thank you for having us. This is a very exciting turning point for dance, I have to say. So really, really pleased that we can have this open conversation about something that affects all of us.
Thanks again for being here. Nathaniel, how are you doing this morning?
Miss Nicole, I am doing so well. It is so great to be back here on Turnout Radio. It's been a while since I've connected with you all, so it's great to be back and to chat about this very important topic.
Wonderful to have you here, Nathaniel. And congratulations to you on your entry into Pace University.
It means a lot. It took a lot to get there, but happy where I am, and I'm happy to keep going. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. And Jerome, Welcome to Turnout Radio. How is today greeting you?
Good, thank you. Very, very good. Super busy time, as we prepare and headed for our touring season. But yeah, everything's great. Having a good day, and yeah.
Well, great to see you, Jerome. A pleasure to welcome you into the space. So, folks, on the floor this morning, we're talking about many factors concerning the dance competition sector, and in particular, thoughts about safety, privacy, liability, and the verification of data. And we'll also be talking about ICDR in greater detail later in the show. But at the heart of this discussion is the prioritizing of the safety of the youth who engage with dance competitions and the uniting of all competitive dance stakeholders. And so I'd like to start with you, Jamie. When I mention that word, stakeholder, what comes to mind for you?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, there are four very distinct stakeholders in the competitive experience, and other people might have different opinions, but we're talking about dancers. They're the heart of everything we do. They're the reasons that I became a teacher. And then there's obviously their parents, who should have a lot of control and over their own child's journey. There's the studios that they subscribe to, and then there's the competitions that those studios attend. And I don't want to say just competitions, because there's also other events as well. There's conventions and there's other programs that a studio might register their dancers for. So those are four very distinct, understandable stakeholders. But there's a fifth stakeholder that we don't often talk about, and that's the registration providers, that are very key components of the very big puzzle that is the competitive dance world. So in my opinion, there are five distinct stakeholders. Other people might say four or three, but that's what we're referencing, and that's what the International Competitive Dancer Registry, ICDR for short, because we all love acronyms in dance, that's who it needs to serve. If it's not serving those five respective stakeholders at the exact same time, then it's not really doing its job. A very key part of the word stakeholder is stake. And the stakes are high for a dancer, regardless if they're in 2 routines or if they're in 12 routines, and a lot of what we're talking about is fairness and safety. And I think it's really important to deliver as safe, as fair of an event as possible. And there really hasn't been a really thorough, comprehensive solution until the ICDR. And so many people are getting behind it because it does solve so many collective pain points, but then also honors how high the stakes are for a dancer like Nathaniel, who's been through every competitive stage probably in Canada.
Yes. And when I read that statement, Jamie, with regards to the uniting of all competitive dance stakeholders, I found it to be an important statement about the overarching population of those who are interested, invested, influenced, and even impacted by the work of the industry, including those that we haven't yet mentioned.
You're absolutely right. And I think, Jerome and I have had so many conversations, and we had a very interesting industry roundtable where we invited, people that are sometimes at odds with each other or see each other as competitors, because they might have this competition over here, and then someone might have a competition over here served by different providers. But at the end of the day, even if you have a competition that prides itself on being different, and having all these categories that might not be relevant over here at this competition, there are still some top line items that we can really get behind, like safety and like fairness, right? We all want to reserve our autonomy and reserve our individuality. There are some wonderful things that make fever, but when I approached Jerome about this possibility, he just started nodding his head. And I might be putting words in your mouth, Jerome, but he was like, yes, it's about time something like this came to our industry, where we could all work together on those top line consistent items that make it easier for a studio owner to register for competitions, more peace of mind for a parent that's putting their child up on stage, and more assurances for someone like Nathaniel that we're even checking the age of a competitor, right? We're skipping that fundamental step in competition, in competitive dance, to actually check the age of a competitor. That's a standard in every other single major youth activity, whether they have ID systems or not, So we're just trying to get the industry to at least agree to some top line items. And that's where the uniting comes, Nicole. That's when we can all get behind a movement that, protects people like Nathaniel, protects events like Jerome's, and offers, all of us, the 5 stakeholders, a renewed sense of faith in what we invest in so much. There's so much money that goes into dance. There's so much time, energy, emotion, physicality. So there's just safety and fairness top line items that we can definitely adhere to.
Now, the parameters of what defines safety in competitive dance can encompass a wide scope of unique understanding, especially when we consider diverse lived experiences, knowledges, traditions, practices. And so, from your perspective, what defines safe practice in the industry, Jamie? What are your thoughts?
Well, that's a great question. And I mean, there are already wonderful things being done to keep dancers safe in person, to keep dancers safe in the studio, to keep them safe at events like Jerome's. The systems that we actually rely on to, celebrate integrous outcomes that are fair, haven't really matched the pace of growth with dance, right? Our industry has surged in popularity, and the systems haven't really caught up to that pace of growth. So we're trying to extend the safety, not just in person, but extend that online, because there are billions of images and videos taken of dancers not wearing hockey gear every single season that are not distributed safely. This is 2026, and we have to kind of evolve with the times, right? So it's all part of this comprehensive solution that kind of ticks a lot of boxes and has taken us a lot of time to get here.
Thank you, Jamie. And while we're opening up about safe practices and what that looks like in its many different forms, I'm glad that we're thinking here about approaches that respect, hold space, and honor the well-being and lived experiences of dancers in all spaces. Nathaniel, what are your thoughts surrounding safety definition and practice?
For me, safe practice in the dance industry starts where the dancers train, which is the dance studios. These dancers are spending hours and hours a week with these teachers who trust them with their education for dance and who trust them for their own well-being and growth. So to have teachers that you can trust, to have teachers that are somewhat maybe certified is the first step for me, because that's where the work goes in. That's where everyone is the most vulnerable. Then we carry it over to the dance competitions, to the dance events. Hopefully, eventually, we can carry out a way to eventually screen everyone that is working at these events to ensure that when these dancers come into these spaces, they're safe in every way possible. It could be the backstage manager that's screened, the photographer that is screened, maybe even the judges are screened. But to really ensure that the kids have no worry whatsoever about any privacy being violated or anything of that sort, so that they can just come in and just do what they love and what they came in there for, which is to dance.
ICDR is becoming a tool to help events and to help studios become the best, safest, fair version of themselves. We will never go after governance. We will never say that you have to do something, because Jerome's been in business, with fever, and knows exactly what is best for his business and his clients. And I don't have any business going in and telling him what he should or shouldn't do. And that goes the same with studios. I've worked for 60, maybe 100 studio directors that have been in business for 30, some 40 years, and they know what's best for their clientele. But what ICDR is doing is finally we can offer tools to help competitions, if they so choose, to criminally background check their staff. There's even organizations that, ICDR, endeavors to highlight, like YPAD, the Youth Protection Association of Dance, because the YPAD certified events do exactly what Nathaniel's saying. They criminally background check their staff. There's a bunch of other standards that you adhere to as a YPAD certified event to make sure that a studio knows exactly what to expect when they're walking in those doors. They know that their dancers are safeguarded. But moving it back to ICDR, it's really important to us to find more cohesion and more streamlined efficiency and safety online. When you go to redeem media's current protocol, sometimes the only way we can restrict the access of media involving a minor is by restricting it by their birth date. Well, happy birthday, Julia. Happy birthday, Eric, on social media. Your friends know your birthday. It's very easy to find. I could show you very disturbing websites with thousands of birthdays listed for any dancer with clout. And people take those birth dates and they redeem media before the actual owner of said media. So this is the vulnerability and the safety online that ICDR is closing that gap very, very quickly, thanks to conversations with Nathaniel and with Jerome and a series of other people that have been very instrumental in developing what we think is the best version of an association to protect us. That's not about governance.
Yes, and we have much to discuss regarding ICDR. And folks, if you're just tuning in, stay with us. Later in the show, we'll be talking more about the organization, who it serves, and how you can connect. Now, Jerome, as we look forward, I think it's also productive to look back and reflect upon context that's brought us to the now. What do you think has historically defined the shape of safety practices in the competitive dance industry?
I think that just depends on everybody's knowledge of how they're approaching their events, how they're approaching their media. But I think ICDR is kind of a step in the direction where it's kind of all encompassed in one place, and the educational aspects are there to remove those barriers.
And historically, Nicole, I do want to add that, the evolution of media has changed in the past 15, 20 years, right? There was an obsession one day with the biggest trophy, and you wanted to walk away with a jukebox, or you wanted to walk away with this massive amount of gear coming from a competition. Now it's much more, people are much more obsessed with that video, and historically, talking about even fairness structure, there was a time when my teachers, the generation above me, had birth certificates at the ready, backstage in the wings, ready to prove the age of their competitor because the categories were like 20 kids long, right? Things have changed, and we just really haven't been as creative as we are in our choreography to bring everyone together. And that's what all of these conversations, going back to just what Jerome said, is raising awareness. Let's use our voices, work together. It's 2026, turning point in dance.
So when you reflect on these very valid, concerning areas that you've witnessed, what is working within the culture of competitions?
Studios are doing an amazing job, creating a safe space, whether it has to do with great mindsets and helping them be positive and helping, create a space to thrive and improve. And like, I know myself with my events, I thrive about, positivity and education, but I think that's what makes competitions and studios unique in their own ways, that they're all finding ways to create a safe space in their own unique way.
And you know what else is working? I love sharing insights, like everyone's finding their people, they're finding their supporters. There is a lot of collaboration in dance, which is really hitting at the forefront. A lot of choreographers are coming together. A lot of events are coming together. The Dance Educators Collective just formed in the US, which is a wonderful series of events, leaders, studio owners, summiting to share best practices to make sure that their events are safe. Even in Canada, there's been so many, attempts to get everyone speaking together. Rebecca Brettingham started Dance Safe Ontario with some other very pivotal studio owners when they were forced to communicate together to fight government closures during the pandemic, right? They were put in the same categories as gyms, right? Which, basically abolished a lot of their business, and they weren't able to speak together because there was no one to represent them and to get them assembled quickly. So there's a bunch of things that are working.
There's been great moves over time that people coming together and working together and sharing and whatnot. I think it's just to keep that going. And and with every introduction of something is a new step in that direction to
raise awareness behind it.
Awareness and more ways to bring people together. That's and bring this dance industry together.
When I look back to the many years ago when I was a competitive dancer to now, I do see some of the shifts and the great work that has been done in the areas of safety practices. I'm also mindful of additional organizations like Healthy Dancer Canada, IADAMS, the International Association of Dance Medicine and Science, who, among many, are doing research and also providing resources to dance communities to support our well-being in the spaces that we're occupying, and that includes in competition. I enjoy working as an adjudicator. I do. I look forward, though, to more conversations where we can also continue the discussion about how competitions are creating frameworks that welcome, hold space, and respect all bodies and cultures, oral traditions, histories, and ways of being. And that includes who is judging and how feedback is being shared with the dancers, and also the category names.
Right. And how do you mark those stories and assign a grade to them, when you don't have maybe the cultural understanding? And not to mention, there's so much just on that side of things, right? But there are some things that we will, never agree on. That's part of the reason that I don't think dance has a governing body, because who is going to represent jazz? Who would represent contemporary? Who would represent, hip hop? That would be nearly impossible to agree on. But the artistic integrity and the subjectivity of what we do does not negate our responsibility to, offer the same sort of support and infrastructure that an athlete gets. We just haven't come together at the high stakeholder level to agree on some top line items, and the software available hasn't been there to support it.
Thank you both. Nathaniel, as you've been reflecting this morning, how has competition supported your creative development and holistic well-being? And I'm also curious about how advocacy has played a role in either of those spaces.
To start, the competition world has given me so much. Recently leaving the competition world, there's been a lot to take from it, and also a lot that I see now from the outside perspective. To talk about the good things first, it exposed me to a lot, and a lot of really amazing and beautiful things, different styles, different genres, different teachers. And the most important part, honestly, are the different types of dancers that I got to dance with and watch. A lot of networking opportunities, because the dancers that I dance with are going to be the ones I'm going to work with in the future. They're the ones that I need to hold those connections with. I need to really check in on them and have them check in on me, have those honest relationships with them, because that is the most, I personally, I feel like that's the most important group for me to network with.
I say that all the time.
Yeah. They're going to be my coworkers in the near future, hopefully. I'm going to be working with them. I might be on a tour with them. I might have to live with some of them. These things happen. And for something that I would like to see improvements on is really the mindset. Just because I don't want to see dancers have the awards be the only barometer to measure the success at these events. There's so much more than a trophy. There's so many intangible things that you can get from one of these events that are 100 times more valuable than a trophy that you can hoist up, whatever. These, you can learn so many lessons just from being there. Flat out, just from being at a dance competition. You can learn so many things. But we throw away all the very important moments that I wish I held on to more. As a dancer who recently left the competitive world, I wish I took in those moments with my friends on stage. I wish I took in all those funny backstage moments that we had together. I wish I took in the moment that I did my final solo on my last competitive stage and took in that last second for maybe a millisecond longer, because those intangible things are really what make my dance career. I'm not going to talk about a first place trophy I got 10 years ago at a dance competition in my professional career. There are just so many more important and beautiful things that I think dancers should focus on more rather than just first place.
Nathaniel Chua dropping some thoughts in the Turnout Radio studio this morning. We're going to take a break and be right back with more from Jamie, Jerome, and Nathaniel coming up right after this. Jamie, the International Competitive Dancer Registry, which we've been referencing today, is about to have its official launch. And so tell us about ICDR and who it serves.
Well, we talked earlier about the 5 stakeholders. I mean, the ICDR was built, out of where we see obstacles, there is opportunity. We are literally uniting the divided under the shared banner of safety and fairness. Every other major youth activity has an ID system. That's what this is. It's a one-time weighted verification backed by government-issued photo ID that a parent only has to do once to solve a serious problem involving assigning a legal guardian to a dancer to protect them online. We can suddenly use multiple factor authentication. This is all about modernizing our industry to the standard expected in sport and coming together to safeguard images and videos, to offer verified records, accident insurance, centralized support resources. There's so much we can do when we finally adopt an ID system that works with the major competitions and the major media providers and registration providers that they subscribe to. We're just trying to give, someone control over their own digital footprint and a renewed sense of faith in competitive operations, and that's what this has become. And I could not be more proud to be sitting in this seat, getting to talk to you, Nicole, and getting to talk to all of our partners, because it's really been more than a village. It's been a whole industry building this together, and it's quite inspiring.
Where verification and the protection of identity is concerned, what model does ICDR offer then that can support protective measures?
Well, the one-time verification backed by a government issue photo ID for a guardian, they only have to do once, and then that unlocks that industry ID number. Then we can protect all of their media with multiple factor authentication. It's a single sign-on system, same way you're used to bouncing back and forth between Gmail accounts, or you have passkeys, authenticators, the strength and security you have logging into a bank. That's what we're suddenly offering, not just on the imagery and videos, but over data, right? There are profiles for Nathaniel Chua living on as many different systems that his studio has ever registered him with. We're trying to say that's not privacy compliant because it isn't. Let's all pull from the same protected source. The stakes are high for every dancer. It kind of grinds my gears a little bit when some people say, oh, this is just for the pro dancer. It's for everyone. You know, we all care about what we invest in, parents monetarily, dancers physically and emotionally, studios, their lifelong legacy, competitions, their legacy as well. There's so much at stake here that deserves more fairness, more safety, and to be verified. That's what the future looks like.
Thank you, Jamie. And Jerome, within the space of work that you do as a competition director, what are your thoughts about ICDR?
I think for all of us on our end, it's kind of more like a tool, an organizational tool, a planning tool. For dancers and parents, it's like a historical feature and also control over media. I think the possibilities are I don't want to say endless, but yeah, they pretty much, you can do so much when, like, look at any type of software company that once you get started, you can keep going with features that help the organization, that help the planning, that give more features to, like, say for Nathaniel, for when he's growing up throughout his dance career. How long have you been dancing, Nathaniel? Let's unpack it. Like, how long dancing?
14 years.
So say 14 years, 4 to 5 comps a year. And at those 4 to 5 comps, depending on how many routines you do, that's, I don't even know, a countless amount of awards, right? That's digging through 14 years of programs at 4 to 5 events per year, looking for all your awards and your achievements. And also, it's looking back at where you started from to where you improved. You're looking at your feedback, you're looking at your choreography, you're looking at the way you danced, how you improved, but then you have your photos and your videos. It's like, it's yours. You can do what you want with it. Like, let's put it this way, and I'm sure, Nicole, you can attest to this. Before Facebook and all that kind of stuff, any pictures, they were mine. You know why? Because they're sitting in a shoebox in my basement. Nobody could gain access to that. Right. So I think in a way this is a dancer shoebox, right? And they can choose to do what they want with it.
I love that, Jerome. And, it's preserving memories, because that's what it is. Absolutely. If you attend, one competition served by one provider and another competition served by another, that division, that choice to align with one provider has nothing to do with the dancer. And again, the dancer doesn't choose to go to that competition because they choose to subscribe to a studio that they trust, but they choose the competitions. If Jerome, as the event competition owner, wants to see the history of Nathaniel for some reason to dispute or, answer someone's question about Nathaniel's eligibility, he can request access to Nathaniel's parent, and then the parent can grant access into that profile. This is a consent-based, privacy-compliant system. There are evolving privacy laws that we haven't even really touched on, and maybe that's episode 2, Nicole. This is what we're ushering forward, a privacy-compliant solution to our collective pain points that we've complained about in the wings and in the car on the way home from the event weekend for far too long.
Where privacy is concerned, you and I spoke about artificial intelligence prior to the interview, Jamie. And we note that AI is changing how performance and creative work is being shared, accessed, recorded, recalled, and presented. And while some of the tools that AI provides may offer new opportunity for creativity and access, we're also aware of some of the dangers. How does ICDR speak to and safeguard dancers within the ever-growing shifts of AI?
I think it's a great question. And I think, it's just about giving parents and dancers more control over their own digital footprint that can safeguard them against what we don't even know is going to happen with AI. There are companies in the States that you can hire as a parent to oversplit your dancer. So if your dancer goes into a Russian and they don't, fully split their legs, you send it in to them and then they oversplit and create a false sense of I guess, skill. There are also AI operators, or we're losing that human filter behind the camera sometimes. In 2026, you will see that a little bit more. So I think we need an added layer of security in terms of logging in and redeeming media of minors in outfits they don't control using multiple factor authentication. That is what ICDR is bringing to the table. So going back to the AI, yes, I'm concerned, absolutely concerned. I think a lot of people are. So that's why ICDR exists, to give you more control and give you more peace of mind that your data isn't vulnerable, because I can guarantee you that our storage and safe harbor, COPPA compliant, PIPEDA compliant, BIPA, you name it, all the different evolving privacy laws, wherever you're verifying from, we honor that law and we protect your data only owned by said person. It's not like we can access that data. It's all hashed behind an ID number. And by the way, these ID numbers, Nicole, are standard in every other major youth activity but dance.
Nathaniel, I see you nodding in agreement. What's at the forefront of your mind as you are thinking about the impact of ICDR?
I hope that we don't lose the artistry. I don't want to see that part of dance leave because of AI. I don't want to see dancers lose interest in this art form, in this beautiful art form, because of technology. Because I don't know what is real or not real anymore on social media. I scroll and see a post, I look at the comment section, is this AI? I don't want us to lose that authentic part of dance. ICDR is doing something really amazing and it's developing into something incredible.
I think it's a step in the right direction. There will always be a million things that we need to fix and that we need to talk about, and those are for another conversation, another day. We can always keep having those conversations and keep talking and keep trying to fix and keep trying to come together. And until then, I think we're doing all right. I think we're doing all right.
Stay with us. More of Turnout Radio coming up after this. Jamie, what should we know about the Vote for Change movement and also the next steps for anyone who's interested in taking part in ICDR?
We are live officially. You will be able to go to competitivedancer.com. You can go there now and vote for change. That's going to change into a movement, or evolve, I should say. As of February 2nd, you will be able to self-verify on competitivedancer.com and get your industry dance ID. You can't use it until your studio director agrees, because we're respecting the dynamics of the studio knowing what's best for their clientele. We hope to, onboard all the dance studios and all the competitions under this shared banner of fairness and safety. And I want to go back to, what we were talking about, that record, that verified portfolio, that pride and legitimacy that would bring a dancer like Nathaniel. It's also self-measured progress. I think we're so concerned about pitting ourselves up against someone else or our competitors versus really focusing on the wellness of ourselves, being confident in who we are. And I think that's opening the door to that possibility and being able to see all your accolades and on a dancer dashboard, I can centralize supportive resources that help Nathaniel become the best version of himself. Very exciting, Nicole.
Thank you, Jamie. And we want to remind folks that you can learn more about the International Competitive Dancer Registry, or ICDR, at competitivedancer.com. Jamie, Jerome, Nathaniel, I want to thank you for sharing your thoughts with us today and for connecting with us about the launch of ICDR. It was a pleasure to chat with all of you. Thank you for joining me on Turnout Radio. Looking forward to being in conversation with all three of you again very soon.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you guys.
Stay plugged in. We've got more of Turnout Radio coming up right after this. That was Jamie Hodgins, Jerome Bobb, and Nathaniel Chua in the house with me today, sharing thoughts about their perspectives and experiences within the competitive dance industry, and in particular, discussing the launch of the International Competitive Dancer Registry. Now, as they shared this morning, ICDR is a secure online platform that's built for youth in competitive dance, and it's designed to protect dancers with verification, anonymizing sensitive data, and safeguarding performance media. With tools like waiver management and participant tracking that we spoke about this morning, ICDR has shared that they're helping studios and events streamline operations, enhance safety and fairness, and provide dancers with the lasting digital records of their work and achievements. Now, for dancers, ICDR registration was free for 2025. A small yearly fee will apply in future seasons to maintain access and security with added benefits like accident insurance, tracked histories, and registration verification. Founding members will qualify for a reduced rate in the future. There's no cost for studios to join, and ICDR is free for events, as they have indicated that they are committed to giving event organizers the resources that they need to prioritize the safety and the fairness that we discussed this morning without added costs. Please do visit their website, as information can change and grow following the airing of this episode. And we'd love to know what folks think after tuning into today's conversation. There is a lot of excitement around the launch of ICDR and how it can support competitive dance artists and the industry at large. And so connect with us at turnoutradio@ciut.fm. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts. And to learn more about ICDR, visit competitivedancer.com. You're tuned in to Turnout Radio on CIUT 89.5 FM. We'll be back with more of the program right after this. Today, you've been listening to the sounds of Cannonball Adderley with Autumn Leaves and John Coltrane with Blue Train. Welcome back to Turnout Radio. Well, this morning we've been talking about ICDR and the competitive dance industry. More to come, folks, as we follow the continued work of the organization. My thanks again to Jamie Hodgins, Jerome Bobb, and Nathaniel Chua for joining me in the house today. If you missed the top of the program, as always, you can visit turnoutradio.com, CIUT.FM, and some of your favorite podcast platforms where today's episode will soon be streaming. Now, some news, folks. Listen, we are approaching an anniversary. In March of this year, Turnout Radio turns 10 years old. Stay tuned for information on how we'll be celebrating and turning out on the dance floor. Also, coming up, we'll be launching our new newsletter, which highlights our library of interviews, resources, and articles. Much, much more to come. And this season, we hope to see you on the road as we continue our usual travels visiting classrooms, theaters, and stages. And among our dates on the road, please join us at Dance Immersion's presentation of Zio by AC Mensa Creations, which takes place at Meridian Arts Center in the Green Win Theater at 5040 Yonge Street in North York. I'm very pleased to be joining AC for a talk back during the performance dates, and Zio will be running March 13th straight through to the 15th, 2026. For tickets and information, visit danceimmersion.ca. Well, we're heading to the close of today's program. Thank you for tuning in to share time and rhythm with us. Join us again next week for more of Turnout Radio right here on CIUT 89.5 FM. I'm Nicole Inica Hamilton. I hope your week finds you turning out to dance.